Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here. I'm with Liz Trotter. Our guest today is Molly Whalen. This is Smart Business Moves. Molly, how in the world are you?
Oh, fantastic. It's great to be in Bozeman, Montana. We had a nice snowstorm last night, and so the skiing is excellent for those that are interested.
Nice. My son would be loving that snowboard, but
Yeah.
he would be loving that.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
magical here.
how much snow is on the ground?
Oh, probably about a foot. But up in the mountains, we probably have about 3 to 4 feet or more
And I guess it stays that way
until May.
oh,
Then we really go into mud season. So we have beautiful summer, a beautiful fall, gorgeous winter, and then mud season. So I don't recommend being here in mud season. That's when everything melts and the trails turn to mud.
is that what they call it? Mud season?
It is. It
Ah,
is. Yeah.
Whatever uh, agency the Chamber of Commerce is using to promote travel, they need to find another one. Mud season is not flattering.
It's when all of us from Montana leave and go see you, Tom, in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah, Molly was sharing that you were in Charleston here over Christmas. Your daughter was graduating from College of Charleston.
oh, how
Yes.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's so exciting when your kids graduate, isn't it?
It
Oh,
is. It's fantastic.
yeah, such a
You've
good
done your
feeling.
job. You can check the
I
box.
know,
You,
done.
you've written that last tuition check.
Yeah.
Yes, they're no longer on the payroll. There's a lot of good things.
Yeah,
Hey,
nice.
Liz, this just in. You are
Woo!
looking gorgeous today.
Well, all righty, Cherise. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, you see how he just leaves that up for only half a second, though, right?
I
Everything else
know.
he leaves up forever. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
There.
It's going to be there for the
Now
rest
it's
of the
back
show,
on.
for the rest
Good
of
thing
the
I know
hour.
how to hide.
All right.
I have my functionality back. Yay.
All right.
Huh, she's laughing. Good to see you, Cherise. I'm glad you're here. What are we talking about today, y'all?
Oh,
Well, yeah.
what are we talking about today?
What are we talking about? We're talking about leadership styles and how we're showing up and how sometimes our best intentions could actually create underlying expectations that can lead to judgments and discord in your business. So I'll go through that, and it's a different way of showing up as a business leader.
Nice. Sounds good. I like
Yeah.
it. Do you have a PowerPoint, Molly?
Of course I do.
We're,
Yes.
we'll jump into that. Molly, you want to just take a minute and tell us about, your background and your experience with the residential cleaning industry?
You bet. I've owned Mountain Maids since 2007, and here's my website. You can see our gorgeous mountains and
No kidding.
um,
Wow.
and the
Look at all the
Yellowstone
snow.
River going through it.
Is this
So
is this mud season?
this is fall. This is when it's
That
beautiful and
really is
starting to come
gorgeous,
in.
though.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
coming into winter. So it's really beautiful, and so we have two locations. We serve Bozeman area and then also the Big Sky, Montana area, and we do about $1 million a year. Been doing this for, like I said, 15, 16 years now. Have about 24 employees. We do have company vehicles. We travel in teams, and we're
Wow.
eco-friendly. Yeah.
And we don't
So,
hear a lot about company vehicles and teams lately, right? In
mhm.
the last couple of years. So that's cool.
Yes, a lot of people are shifting away from it, doing the solo cleaners.
Yeah.
We still are in the mode of having the company vehicles um, and traveling in teams. A lot of our homes are anywhere from 10 to 15,000 square feet.
Wow.
And so if you sent one person in there, a departure clean could take up to 30 hours. One person would be incredibly overwhelmed in that situation.
Yeah.
So because of our clientele, we do need larger teams to go in.
Yeah, no kidding. Can you imagine sending a solo into a 30-hour job? So,
No.
do your best. It'll be
That's
fun.
right. That's right. We'll just airdrop food and, water to
Fun.
you,
We'll
and
see you in a
we'll
few
see
days.
you in a week. So no, this way it's really important. And when clients are in home, I mean, a lot of these homes have 22 beds, 9 bathrooms, multiple kitchens. So when a team goes in there, they really need to be getting in and out so that they're not underfoot with the clients in house.
Yeah. So still a team of 2 sounds like not
No.
enough
They're
either.
only going to be in there for 15 hours.
I know.
That's right. That's right. No, we usually send a team, minimum is 3, but we've had up to 6 people in a home before to get in and out.
Wow. Okay.
So,
That
yeah.
sounds, that sounds definitely more doable.
Yes.
Sharice is also teams and cars. Yeah, I know.
Oh, good.
We were just talking about this in the circle actually, it might have been the beginning of this week, right, Sharice? And you were saying how you really love the culture. I know, right? The huge houses. And it is a completely different culture when you're working in teams, have an office, company cars, that whole thing. So
Yes.
that's cool. But
Yeah.
man, those are some big old houses. I know a lot of
They
people
are.
have big houses, but not as their base. Right? Sounds like
Right.
that's on your base. Wow.
Right. Yes. So yeah, so that's us in a nutshell. And so my slide presentation and going into that is really talking about how we're showing up as leaders, even if you have solo cleaners, or if you own other types of businesses. It's really important to how you're showing up, how you're leading your teams, how you're leading your people, and how you're really leading yourself, so that you can promote a really amazing corporate culture. And so this is what I'm also a part of Synergy Growth Coach. I'm a life and business coach. And so through the years of coaching employees, I have then gone into leadership coaching for other companies and for other businesses. This morning, I was speaking to a group that was business to business group. I've presented to women's groups. I've presented at ISSA, as you guys know. You both are presenters there as well. And so through the business coaching, I've really learned how to cultivate what I would call self-leadership. And so that's what we'll be discussing today.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know who doesn't need a little bit more of that.
Right.
Hey,
I know, Liz, you love leadership. So this will be fun for us today.
I got my remarkable all ready to go. I'm taking me some notes.
I dropped the link to Synergy Growth Coach in the chat as well. So anywhere through this or afterwards, if anybody wants to follow up with Molly on anything that you hear today, that would, I presume, Molly, would be the best way to get a hold of you?
Yes, please.
Well, actually, just today, somebody reached out to me, Molly, and wanted to know if I knew somebody that did stuff similar to what I do, but in other industries. So I'm thinking that you might be the person for them to talk to.
And that would be great. We can see if it's a fit. Yes.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what she said he does, like recreational equipment, maybe something like that.
Recreational equipment. What would that be? Is that like a jump castle?
I was thinking it was more like swing sets for some reason. I don't know where I'm getting that idea. She might have said something like that.
It could be anything from kayaks to skis, I guess.
It can be.
I don't know.
Yes.
She actually did tell me residential and commercial play sets.
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good.
All right.
Good. Come on over. All right.
Jump into your deck, Molly?
Yep. We'll go ahead and go to the next slide. And so since this is a new year, we are in January, a lot of us develop our goals for the year, right? So we have our budgets created. We have our big, hairy, audacious goals that we want to achieve. And it's interesting. We've with goals, they're incredibly important because you want to have those benchmarks on whether or not you're hitting industry standards. You also have to have a standard for your teams in cleaning or hitting your sales numbers, client satisfaction, whatever it may be. But a lot of times when we have goals, there's unfortunately an expectation around them. So, for example, some of my clients have come to me and they've said to me that, for example, I decided to go for dry January. That's my goal. I'm going to be dry January. I don't really drink that much, but I decided to jump on that bandwagon. And they talked about how putting that goal on themselves all of a sudden stressed them out. They started to become crazy to their children and to their spouse and to their employees. And she's like, I don't even drink that much, but it was such a stressor on my life that I became a maniac over it. And a lot of goals that we set, especially personal goals, whether it's to lose weight or go to the gym or whatever it may be, if you go to the gym regularly in November and you're there, it's kind of a ghost town. You've got all the equipment to yourself. You've got the trainers. You're in the classes. You're enjoying it. You go January 1 and you can't even get in the door, right? And so, but then by February, you're back to not that many people there. Most people on self goals last about 2 weeks. And and so these goals that we put on our, it's about 2 weeks.
Real? Oh my God.
It is real. It's really terrible if you think about it. If you're really trying to change something, what it takes 17 times to create a habit, it takes 3 times to break the habit. So if you say, oh, I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow, and then I'll go the next day, or I'll go the next day. So those are the things that happen. And so when we have these goals, personally or even professionally, we can start to really put pressure on our teams, right? We can put pressure on ourselves, pressure on our teams. We want to hit these numbers. We've got to do $10,000 this month because whatever it may be. And how you're showing up, how you're presenting it can put expectations and then judgments on those around you and yourself. And goals tend to be a bit more rigid, and so that expectation is really hard. So if you go to the next slide for me, Tom, thank you. So just being really aware of the expectations and the judgments and how you're showing up as that leader. Are you showing up in those expectations? So if I expect my sales team to bring in 5 new clients a week, let's just say, and it's Friday and I've only received 4 new clients instead of 5, how am I showing up? Am I showing up in gratitude? Am I showing up that's stressful because now we're behind? So next week we have to have 6. Am I rewarding them based off of those expectations? Am I taking bonuses away? How am I showing up as that leader? So you can start to see if I'm showing up I expect you to get 5 new clients and my sales force looks at me and says, I didn't get it. How are they feeling? Right? They're feeling like they're judged and they're not hitting the benchmark. So just being really, really aware of those goals and how we're showing up around them.
And they're
and
not.
If you go,
realistically, they're not hitting the goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how you should feel? You should feel like you're not hitting the goal. You know why? Because you're not hitting the goal.
Yes. And so then does that make me feel good and want to come to work tomorrow? So if I'm on my sales team and I'm not hitting the goal, it creates stress, right? So then I'm coming in and I'm sitting in my car and I'm turning off my car and I'm thinking, gosh, I wonder what Molly's going to say. It's Friday. I don't have the 5 new or whatever it may be. And how are they showing up around it?
Yeah.
And then are they, when they speak to the next client, are they talking to them in the way that's like, I really got to get this. And if I don't get it, it means who I am isn't good enough. And Molly's going to think I'm not good enough. So do you see how it just starts to layer? And a lot of businesses are faced with employees that are stressed. They're faced with
Oh, yeah.
employees that have,
More
mental health
anxiety
and
and
anxiety. And here we're creating this environment of a perfect storm of anxiety.
and wait, let me make sure that I'm understanding. I don't think I'm understanding. I think what you heard is setting goals creates anxiety, and is that what you're saying?
So you've got to be really careful. Goals are really
Okay.
important, right?
Yeah.
So you have
Yeah.
both. So
Yeah.
you have the linear. So if you really want to advance your company, you've got to set some kind of goals or business standard,
Something,
right?
some
You have
objectives,
to,
something, yeah.
right? Something. But you've got to be careful. You're managing the expectations around the goals.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. Is
And,
that
and you
clear?
and you layer over that dry January, and it's kind of like the perfect storm.
It's a perfect storm. You can't, so now you're dry January and you're expecting sales and you have to go home. And, so as you layer more and more on professionally and business and personal, just think about the expectations that you're putting on yourself. And no wonder we're living in this, I shouldn't be watching Netflix right now because I haven't hit my sales goals, whatever it may be that you're judging and putting those judgments on yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
So you're not saying don't, you're setting us up for our next step. I get
Right. And it's about managing expectations. It's not that goals are bad.
you. Okay, good. I like that.
Before
Okay.
getting off of this slide, we're saying
Yes.
searching for circumstantial evidence to be happy. Can you explain what that thought is?
Yeah. So when you're looking outside of yourself for happiness, you're going to struggle in that. So if I look outside of myself for whatever it may be, so if I'm expecting, right, somebody to show up in a certain way and they don't, then I'm disappointed, right? So if I want my team of cleaners to show up on Monday morning after New Year's Day, right? And I'm expecting them all to show up and half my team doesn't show up because of whatever, you can understand how I could be upset by that, right?
Okay.
So because we're putting the expectations that you're going to show up to your job.
Yeah.
And so when you're looking outside of yourself for that, you'll start to see how I can disrupt this thought. You still want your team to show up, right?
Yeah.
But the way that I'm going to
Hopefully.
present it, you'll see how it changes when you
Okay.
stop looking to the outside for self-fulfillment.
Okay.
All right. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. So expectations are super tricky, right?
Yeah.
And they can happen unconsciously. Around the world, we all have these expectations, right? We just do. So we have expectations on if I send out an email, I'm going to get a response right away. Or if I expect my team to present themselves in a way that they are ambassadors of my company. And if they don't, then I'm disappointed, right? You can think about all of it. Go down the list, whether you have children, whether you have employees, whatever it is. If I have it in my head how somebody should react, or then it leads to a chance of expectations, which leads to judgment. And it's detrimental, and we don't even realize we're doing it. So if I would text you right now, Liz, and you didn't respond to me because you're on a live conference, live event, and then I get disappointed because you didn't respond to me right away.
Yeah, especially if you're expecting that I always respond within 2 minutes, and now I don't.
Mm-hmm.
You could see that as, oh my gosh, what did I do? There are so many things. What did I do? Why doesn't Liz care about me anymore? What did I do? Why is Liz angry? Did Liz get a new phone? Probably would never occur to anybody.
Right.
Is Liz on Smart Business Moves? Again, probably never. So I have talked about this very, very often. It's one of the things that we talk about in foundations is this idea that I got from what we call labor and industries in Washington State. It's like our workers' comp. It's controlled by the state. And I had them come to my place of employment and kind of do an audit on everything. And one of the things that she told me that stuck with me, and this is years ago now, was that unmet expectations is the number one cause of all labor claims.
Sure.
And if you think about that, that is crazy. She said, yeah, you can look at every labor claim that we have, and it's hard to find one that isn't because of unmet expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That just really gave me a very interesting perspective on how important those expectations are for people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how fast it can devolve and cause big problems because they turn into judgment, like you said. Right?
If you remember, we've had a friend of the show as a gentleman by the name of Don Finn, and he used to be a plaintiff's attorney for labor type cases, and he does a really good job of laying out that almost all the time when a company gets sued over something like that, they deserve it. That there's reasonable things they could have done to avoid it to getting to that point, but they were not managing expectations well, or some cases not at all.
Mm-hmm. So I'm totally on board with this idea. Totally.
Yes. So it's just really interesting when you start to realize that expectations are happening when we're in an unconscious way.
Yeah.
It's really mind blowing. I mean, we expect our neighbors to shovel their sidewalk. We expect to go to the airport and get on an airplane and not be stranded for 5 days. All these,
or 10 minutes.
Or yes, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Or, if our cleaning crew is supposed to show up at a client's home, the client's expecting them at a certain time.
Yeah.
And they're expecting them to clean the way they think it should be done.
Yeah.
Without articulating it. So think about in any kind of business, the expectations and then the judgments and then the disappointments, it's vast and it's endless. And it's really hard to manage everybody's expectations when you're a business owner, including your own, and how you show up. Right? Yeah. So let's go to what might help shift this.
I've got shoveling sidewalk as an expectation of my neighbor stuck in my head. Is that a thing that if you don't do that within a certain amount of time, it's like bad etiquette? Your neighbors get upset?
You get fined in Bozeman. You get absolutely fined if you do not shovel your walk. I don't know what it is. And I think it's within like 12 hours. So your sidewalks must be clear. And even though it's the city's sidewalks, it's your responsibility because it's in front of your home.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what happens if you're like sick or have a bad back
hire someone, Tom. Stop your whining.
Usually neighbors are really kind and they do it for each other. It's really magical when you when you're here that neighbors start to do it for each other.
Nice. I guess that is the Bozeman way of paying it forward, right? We buy each other coffee.
Yes. We shovel each other's driveways. So let me introduce something that's everybody has heard. It's such a big buzzword, but this living in intention instead of expectation. And intentions shift everything inside of you and inside of the teams and who you're reaching out to. So intentions are really the driving force behind the manifestation of what you want your life to be and what you desire. And it creates abundance, and It keeps you conscious and in the moment, and in the present. Oh, I'm so sorry. My cat just jumped on my computer. There.
Happens to me.
So there you go. Well, anyway,
That was
so
intentional.
that was intentional. He's trying to let me know something. So anyway, so being present, being positive. So for intentions, you have to be present, you have to be positive, and you're cultivating a positive quality. So I'll get into some of those, but I'm going to show you a little bit difference. If we go to the next slide, please. So we are, I know.
She said, please, like,
That's right.
please come. Could you
Please go. I know this is interesting. So,
Okay.
but we are creative beings. We are constantly creating, whether we are conscious or not. So even if we don't have an intention, like if I came into this meeting and I didn't have an intention, it's still an intention, whether I'm consciously doing it or unconsciously doing it. And if you live in the conscious, you can really create a powerful way of being, right? So if my intention is to be fully present with you and to listen intently and to collaborate, then you'll feel it. If my intention coming in is just to talk and not be fully present, you would feel that as well.
Mhm.
And so, so if you really want this expansive way of living and the flow of goodness and abundance, creation of intentions is really, really powerful. And if you go to the next slide, please. Clarity is really, really important when you are developing and creating intentions. So if you say my goal for today is to call 5 people, right? I'm going to call 5 clients. That's my goal today. What happens if you only call 4? Right? Then you have some kind of expectation, judgment, disappointment could be placed on you. But instead, if you
What do you mean
said,
by placed on you?
you can put that on yourself.
Oh,
So
place
if
it on yourself. Okay.
place it on yourself,
Okay.
into you, so it doesn't feel good. So have it land. I want to call 5 people today, and I only called 4.
Okay.
How does that feel? Right? Versus,
So here's
Mhm.
my dilemma here. I think that what happens with a lot of people is I'm going to call 5 people today. At the end of the day, I only called 4, but I had a good reason.
sure. So there's that. And
Yeah.
then you can make excuses.
Yeah.
There was a
Running themselves
snowstorm.
off
My
the hook.
phone went down.
I
My
had to
cat
shovel
jumped
the
on my
sidewalk.
computer. I had to shovel the sidewalk. So then people get into reasons why it didn't happen. And I don't know about you, but how many of our employees have made thousands of excuses for why they didn't do something? And how often do we appreciate their excuses, even if they're valid?
About as often
Ever.
as I appreciate my own excuses.
Right. And
Yeah.
so instead, if you were to say, if your intention is today I'm going to be present, and I am going to, whoever I speak with, they will have my full attention, and I will give to them in a way that is of service and goodwill.
Okay.
Let that land. And that's a lot different than saying I'm going to call 5 people and I only call 4. Because then if you do only talk to 4, if you only do, right?
Yeah.
It is with intention and purpose, and it's more expansive. Right. And it could be that when you're talking to
I think you
your
lost
4 people, you're constantly thinking, I've got to talk to the next person. I got to talk to the next person. I don't have time. This person's been keeping me on the phone for 30 minutes and I got to talk to somebody else, or my day is going to get away from me. So do you see the difference in the expansiveness?
I'm not sure. I think you might have lost me. This is kind of what I heard. I heard if you're setting numbers, then you're going to end up in a bad place. But if you don't think about numbers and you just think like esoterically, then you can feel good about yourself, even if you don't make your 5 numbers. That's what I heard, and I don't think that was the message.
It's really not. So
I know.
it's really not. So the biggest thing is if your intention is to really
Yeah.
connect with your clients
Okay.
in
But what if my
in
intention
that
is
moment.
just to make more money?
So if your intention is just to make more money,
Yeah.
then your intention when you are contacting or interacting with your clients
Yeah.
is to be as present and in the moment with them as you possibly can. Because when you give yourself and you are present and in the moment to them, the money will come.
Because the connection, they'll feel the connection, and they'll want to do more business with you. So
They will. They're not just a number. So if I'm calling and I'm
got you.
saying, I got to call Bob. Okay, Bob, do you want my services? No. Okay, Bob, I got to go. Because I got to talk to the
I gotta
next
call
person.
George.
Because I got to call George, and George might spend money with me, and it's the end of the month, and I've got to make my numbers. And George, are you interested? No. Okay. See you, George.
I gotta go talk to Sam.
Yeah, I got to talk to somebody else instead of being. Whoever comes to me, I'm going to be fully present. I'm going to be expansive. I'm going to come from a place of service and goodwill.
So is this how you, setting expectations with yourself, is this also how you would set expectations for other people on your team, people that maybe you are working for you, doing sales, for instance?
Yeah, so I'll take my team, for example. They'll have 3 cleans a day, and they've got, they're 10,000 square foot homes, and they're walking into a client's home. And if they go into that client's home thinking about the next clean and the next clean, how are they going to treat that first client?
Yeah.
So that first client is in their way.
That, right?
Yeah, that first client's in their way from getting through their day.
Absolutely could be, for sure.
Yeah. Or is it that you state to them, I have all the time in the world, and you are the most important client right now. And if your team walks in with that mindset, how does the client feel?
Like they're the most important client right now.
It's kind of tricky managing that, though, because they still need to go to the second.
They still got 3 houses.
Yeah.
Like it or not. Yeah.
They do, but it's kind of magical, because when they do this, I know it sounds weird, but they tend to get to all the clients anyway. When I used to put this constraint on them, you got to get these done, and you got to leave, and you got to leave by 11:15, and I'd put these constraints and this pressure on them and this expectation. Every home was a disaster, and I was getting called from clients saying that they didn't finish, and they didn't finish the floors, or whatever the situation was. So it's really interesting when you start to let them know that they're the most important client. And if you run into time issues, call me and we'll resolve it. And I don't get called.
Awesome, because they're not seeing. So they're operating, I think what you're saying is because they're not operating from a place of constraint. So they just don't see constraint, and they just keep moving forward. The constraint isn't slowing them down, which means they can get through with their jobs more quickly or on time. And it's all smooth.
They're not right. And they're not stressed.
Yeah. Without the stress, that smooth feeling. Okay.
Right.
Okay. I get it.
So if they're really clear, and if the team is clear, and they walk in and they say, this is the most important client, then it's amazing.
When you say clear, you mean clarity of intention.
Of their intention. It has
to determine the intention.
I ask them to do. I help them along with it. But when they have a clarity around their intention, like their intention today is to do the best that they can.
Okay.
That their intention today is to show up in a resourceful place where they feel supported and they can provide the best clean they can possibly give.
Okay.
And when that's their clarity and that's their purpose, it's amazing that that's what they provide. instead of saying, you got to do this and this and this. And if you don't do it this way, then you're failing the company and the client. Do you feel the difference on the two?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I can easily see the difference. I feel like like I'm getting stuck here, that because this idea is such a different type of idea, that we've got employees that are coming in and they're setting intention, because we're all very much about what's in it for me, right? We're all thinking about what's in it for me. Making the shift from, if you focus on what's in it for the other person, you will get what's in it for you, kind of as a byproduct. I feel like that's a pretty heavy lift right there, taking people from, completely change their perspective, especially because they might be coming from a place of, my intention is to get done with these houses as quickly as possible so that I could have time with my family and bring balance to my life and not be working as much. And I can see how that focus is going to have to stay there. Keep focused and keep that intention going in the right direction, like setting the values. This is where we want to keep pointing at this place over here, because otherwise I see it being like too big of an option, too many options.
Well, that's why clarity is really important, and it's got to be positive, and it's got to be in the now. It can't be in the future. So it can't be that I've got to get through 5 homes so I can go home and make dinner and put my kids to bed. So it's really important that it's in the now. So right now, what is my intention? My intention is to perform at the highest level I can. My intention is to deeply listen to you. My intention is whatever it may be, so that it shifts it out of this expectation that if I don't do a good job, I'm going to get fired. If I don't do well, the client's going to, complain. So it's a different shift in the mind when you're walking into a client's home and saying, you are the most important client, and I am going to do my best to provide the type of service that I know I can give you. It's totally different.
Okay.
And a lot of technicians and cleaners get in their mind, if there's a client that has complained, they get in their mind where they have a block and they don't perform well at that client's home. So how can you shift that block? Because they're going
it is a completely different way of thinking, for sure. Creating that shift, I can see how it really is quite a bit different than how people normally process things.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because we do see a lot of people focusing in on the past. My focus is always on the future, and now your focus is on the present. And I can see how all of them have their place. As it's interesting hearing about the now. What's the name of Eckhart Tolle's book?
The Power of the Now.
Yeah, The Power of Now.
And so stress and struggle and worry are in the past and in the future. In the now, you have absolutely everything that you need. And if you are building your company and you're building your teams and you're building morale and you're building what you want to manifest this year, it's being really clear, and it's being in the present, and it's based off of positive qualities.
Okay.
Yeah. And the goals are important. So the linear part is important.
That's what I'm waiting to hear how we're gonna. So goals are in the future. So I'm trying to hear how we're gonna.
Well, the goals are important, but in a daily practice, and the way that you show up daily, it's really important to how you want to manage those expectations. So as a business person, I have budgets. I have goals. I have, you know,
Yeah.
my North Star of where I want to go, because you can't sail a sailboat and not know where you're going, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to know where you're going. And then once you get that direction, then how are you showing up every day to create what you want to manifest?
Yeah.
So if I want to lose weight, right? And I shift it to I want to be healthier. So every day I am making decisions on how I'm going to respect my body and nurture my body, and how am I going to create this body of health, instead of I want to lose 10 pounds, right? So you've got to, because then if you don't lose 10 pounds, you start to fall into the, disappointment and things like that. So in your business, if you said, I want to hit 1.5 million,
Mhm.
and each day that you are working towards that, and how are you showing up and how are you manifesting it? If you don't hit 1.5 and you hit 1.3, the expectations and the disappointments may not be as strong, because you've been living in this world of intention of showing up as the best leader you can be, showing up as the best owner that you can be, showing up
Okay.
and uplifting and raising the waters for all, instead of just a number, even though it's important to try to hit it, but you're managing the expectations around it.
So would the feeling be then, based on this idea, my goal is 1.5, but if I'm living in the moment and I'm living with intention and clarity every single day, when I get to the end and I've only hit 1.3, I'm kind of like, oh well, because at least I had a good trip on the way here. At least I'm proud of the things that I did, even if I'm not proud of where I got, or that I didn't hit
Yeah.
the goal.
So think about when every day you wake up and you write down what you're grateful for.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Your whole body shifts, right? You're seeing the good, you're seeing the good in people, you're seeing the good in your life.
Yeah.
If you always looked at what you didn't do well every day and you wrote down 5 things that you didn't do well versus 5 things that you're grateful for,
I don't
and
think it's
5
an
things
either
that you
or though. But it's not an either or. It's kind of like the glass. It's not only half full, it's also half empty. No?
it is. So it's how does it land on you and how are you showing up?
So which one
So
feels better for you in the now?
right. In
Okay.
the now.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And if you really want to push and stretch and get to that 1.5,
Yeah.
and you really want to manifest it, then how do you do it in such a way where it is uplifting and growth and forward movement, instead of beating yourself
So
up
that
that
it
you didn't
feels
hit
good.
it?
So
Right.
basically
So
you're saying that go for the goal, but do it in the now and in a place that the journey is not misery. Have the
that's
journey
right.
be good, and your chances of getting there are potentially better because you're using more of the positive energy.
Right. So if you're in the cleaning industry and you have employees and you're coming in stressed every day and you're coming in
Yeah.
frustrated, and who's going to work for you? Right? If you come in that sense of intention and they feel the intention, aren't you raising the waters of your company? So it's how
Yeah.
you're showing up as a leader, and it's shifting from these unconscious ways of being in expectation to shifting into manifesting and creating and having intentions,
Right.
and it's really
Making
powerful.
things happen instead of to use more like down to earth words, making things happen instead of like waiting for them to happen or expecting them to happen or having it feeling outside of your control. You have a feeling of being in control today.
Correct.
Oh.
And you're very proactive. and you're driving towards what you want, and you're driving towards that manifestation.
And
You
it
are.
sounds
It's
a
how
lot
you're showing
like,
up.
Tom, doesn't it sound a lot like my Be Better training? It is focus in on the future, but also while you're be better today. Be your best self today.
This
No.
is being your best today is how you get the future that you want.
Yeah, it does sound very much like that.
Is Molly, is this incorporated into your training? Like if you, for some crazy reason, you would hire me as a cleaning professional, is this part of my onboarding and training process? You teach me how to manage my day, embracing some of these philosophies?
It does. So when I go into an interview, I'm asking them, what's your intention? You know, what's your intention with this company? Because you're starting to change things around. Instead of people saying, well, I just need money and I just need to work for money, you're starting to change the reasons of what is your intention. And so when I'm talking to my team, what is your intention today? What is your intention to your clients? What is your intention to each other? What is your intention for yourself? And it starts to disrupt, and it starts to change things. It changes the way they speak to each other. It changes the way they interact with clients. It changes this feeling that everybody's out to get me, that she doesn't like me, or the client doesn't like me, or if I make a mistake, that it's because of who I am, that I'm not good enough, right?
Yeah.
Instead of looking at, okay, my intention is to do the best that I possibly can today. And if I make a mistake, I will learn from that mistake and I will course correct. That's hugely different than I made a mistake, so it's because of who I am that I can't clean, or it's because of who I am that she doesn't like me, or whatever the story is.
Yeah.
It disrupts. So the last time we were together, Tom, I really talked about the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. And this is another layer on that, where you're taking shame-based meaning out of not succeeding. So if you're a business owner and you have entrepreneur syndrome, right? Where, everybody sees the great Oz and you're so afraid that somebody's going to pull the curtain back and be like, oh my gosh, it's you, right? So this is changing and disrupting all of that. It's like, if you're showing up with intention of being the best leader you possibly can be, it starts to disrupt this idea that you cannot fail, right? So if I fail, it means I'm an imposter. If I don't know something, it means I'm an imposter. And instead, my intention is to be the best leader, to do the best in my business. And if I can't do it, I'm going to find someone that can, or I'm going to learn how to do it. And my intention is to learn. My intention is to read. Whatever your intention is, it opens up the door instead of shutting us down. Okay.
I get it.
Okay, we'll go to the next
Finally.
slide. Finally, yay. All right. Okay. So we're talking about intentions being in the present moment. So you're going to love this, Liz. We're going to shift from the future into the present. So we've been kind of talking about this. My intention is to show my clients appreciation by contacting 5 a day until I reach them all. So feeling that doesn't, it's like it's out there. And then if I don't do the 5, and then the judgment and the disappointment, versus my intention is to be open and responsive, giving care and goodwill to all my clients in the way I reach out and connect, and how they connect with me. So it's not putting a number. It's not
I'm like,
doing all that. Does that make sense?
I don't know which one of those you think is better.
So let's ask Tom. Okay, Tom, what sounds better to you?
Well, I think the answer that we're going with is the latter. But I'm an engineer, and everybody needs a number. And if I've got somebody who's performing this role, we would set a goal. And if they consistently came in with 4 and the goal is 5, it'd be hard to say, yeah, I only did 4, but I was,
I did it with
giving
intention
care and
goodwill.
goodwill, and it's like, yeah, do your job and get
Sorry.
5. And
Okay, but you know what? I noticed that one little tiny word shift in that first one makes it a lot better. So instead of having the word buy, we changed the word to while. My intention is to show my clients appreciation while contacting 5 a day until I've reached them all. So even if I don't get all 5 today, as long as I am, showing them appreciation, and until I get there, I'm golden. So because it doesn't say that I have to get 5 a day, it says until I've reached them all. So I feel like the while thing works, but I see how the bottom one is supposed to like release all of the pressure. But I kind of want to have a little bit of pressure. I don't do well personally without the number. I'm kind of lazy. So I will float. Nobody else? That's just me.
Well,
and sometimes, employees need that as well. Am I doing a good
do
job?
they though? Because I think the idea is maybe they don't.
Well, maybe.
Right.
So would it be more, I'm curious, would it be more beneficial to your company?
Yeah.
If the person that's connecting to your clients connects in a deeper, more meaningful way of goodwill and service versus a number? And do you think your clients would feel the difference?
Absolutely. I think if it's an either or, then absolutely we have to go with the or. But my suggestion is it's not either or. Just like the glass isn't half empty or half full. I think you need both. No? I think what you're saying is you don't actually need the number.
Right. Because what it does is the number, if I don't hit the 5, then I failed. So do you see?
Why do I feel like I failed though? If I was open and responsive, I was giving care and goodwill to all my clients.
But you only reached 4.
Yeah. It's not only you don't need it, but the number actually can be detrimental. That it can
hold you back.
Right.
Like now I can't be as open and caring with as much goodwill because I've got the pressure of the number. The number is out there, like saying, hey, like before I even start, it's saying, hey, you're already behind. Get going. I know you say you want to do it with care and goodwill, but do it quickly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And do your clients hear it? So when somebody answers the phone and you're curt or you're distracted or you've got 30 things going on, a fire is going on, and the team's calling you because they set fire to something, and then you're talking to a client and you're like, what? So do you see how it's, and then you get into, because the team set a fire, set a house on fire, I couldn't get to 4 clients. So all these excuses start flying.
Okay.
And how many of us like excuses? I don't like giving them. No, I don't like hearing them.
I don't like giving them.
And when you're putting these strict parameters, it's creating that judgment and it's creating excuses.
Okay.
Yeah. It's an interesting shift, but it is hard. I mean,
I have to fight through it because I know my argument. If I don't bring it up, I'll just walk away feeling like, okay, well, that was interesting, but I don't buy it.
This is work. This is work, though. There's something here. I see there's something here, but it's a different paradigm. It's a stretch. This is stretching me, Molly. This isn't
good.
This doesn't come easy.
The last one stretched you too. The fixed mindset and the growth mindset, if you remember, that stretched you as well. And
was it obvious?
It was. You talked about the same. So, of course, I remember it. What I'm presenting as a way of disrupting the norms and going about life the same way that we've always done it. So, if you think about it, how many of us want to go back to 2019 where we felt like we had more control in our companies, right? Me. So we didn't go through, the whole pandemic when we were shuttered in place, where we couldn't have employees, we couldn't go into clients' homes. Then we finally come out of it and we can't find employees. And then the employees that we do have are holding us hostage, right?
Yeah.
And so now we're coming out of it and we're like, what's next? And so we have these employees that are stressed and they're anxiety and we're anxious and our clients are anxious and everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
So if we keep doing the same thing, we're going to keep having the same results. And if you start to disrupt things and think about things differently, even a little bit, it doesn't have to be massive.
Yeah.
But start to think about ways where we're not putting expectations, judgments, stress on ourselves, our clients, or on our employees. And what changes and how do we show up differently? Show up as leaders differently. And then how does our employees show up differently? And if you're speaking to a client and you're talking to them and you say, what is your intention for having your home clean? What's really important to you? Then you start to hear what they really need instead of judging your team. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's really different.
Yeah. We live in the moment. So live in the moment. Don't spend your entire day worrying about the past or trying to figure out the future. I mean, it's relevant, but don't miss the moment.
And they're both relevant. I mean, the past is relevant, the future is relevant. But I think that this is saying, just disrupt your own thinking by living here and getting maybe just trust that you're going to get different outcomes that will be better. That you
we don't always have to know the how, right? If we're working through this, we don't have to always know the how. How is this going to happen? How is it going to be created? How am I going to get that 1.5? If you really just think about how your clients would feel if you were really present with them. I mean, really present. And would they feel a difference? And would they buy more? And would they have more grace to the team? And if you're really present,
more grace to the team is a big one.
Yeah.
And maybe just instead of keeping a client for 4.5 years, you keep them for 10.
You do.
Right. And I think we all recognize the value there.
Right.
So Molly, if anyone in our audience wants to know more about
I know
how to take this concept and apply it in their personal life or their business, can you help with that?
Yeah, so you've got my website up. I host monthly meetings, and so my next one is an evening of superpowers. It's here in Bozeman. There's been about 25 to 30 women that come every month. But if you scroll down a little bit on the page, you'll start to see I do offer one-on-one coaching. I offer group coaching. I have an accelerated course.
Are they only women?
So I coach both men and women. Okay. This is the monthly series is more for the women groups, and but there are I'd coach teams to uplift teams, and I also coach business owners to actually self-actualize and an accelerator program where they can manifest what they want, whatever that may be in their company. Yeah.
Is it through all this same kind of hard work?
It's not easy to disrupt old patterns. It's really you push against it, which is good. And it helps you to start to see, wow, the old ways I've shown up, the stress or how I'm showing up at work, it's not working anymore. And those of us that are really wanting to move forward, in 2023 and beyond, we can't treat our employees that way, right? They'll be gone.
Not anymore.
No.
Right.
And the
Things are
employees are kind of driving. Sometimes I feel like I work for my employees, and so they're driving the agenda. And so how can you create an environment, a corporate culture where they want to work and where they thrive?
So
Yeah.
really what we're saying is let's get anybody that's interested in changing your leadership style, your leadership behavior. This is a program for you.
Yeah, that's
That's
right.
cool. I
And
think
we're living in a world where labor is going to be a constraining factor for many years to come.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
adopting some of these principles could really be the difference of being competitive in the world that we live in today.
Right.
disruptive
Right.
times.
It is disruptive,
Also
and it's
disruptive
disrupting
measures.
yourself too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
we are a smidge past the top of the hour.
That was
Sorry, buddy.
fast.
Molly,
Very
thank
fast.
you. Thank you. This was really, really, really
Yeah.
good.
Mind bending.
Good.
We're done for today. Be back next Wednesday, 5:00 Eastern. Thank you again, Molly. Bye bye.
Thank you,
Bye,
guys.
y'all. Thanks,
Thank
Molly.
you. You bet. Bye bye.